My friend Herb Silverman, who's done a lot of debates against Christians, has offered some advice for atheists who may be in that similar position in the future. And I thought his advice was really good, so I wanted to share that with you, mixed in with a few additional tips of my own. Know your audience. You know, if you're having a debate in front of a conservative Christian crowd, trying to break the ice with an anti-religious joke isn't going to get you anywhere. So, understand who your audience is. Change your arguments based off of who you're talking to. That's the smart thing to do. Remember, your goal is to win them over. And when they're already against you, you're going to have to find a way to break through that and find a way to get across to them. You definitely don't want to give them an easy reason not to like you. Treat your opponent with respect. They mean well, they're just wrong. Don't insult them. Take their arguments at face value and be sure to criticize their arguments and not who they are as people. Just because you're debating someone like, say, Ken Ham, where there's so many reasons not to like the guy, stick to what his arguments are, because he sincerely believes them. And, any opponent you're up against, they deserve to be heard on their merits and not, say, their reputation. Be conversational. I've been to so many debates that are better suited for an advanced philosophy class, and the whole thing just was either over my head or so boring that I didn't want to listen to the person, even the person who was on my side. Speak to the audience like you're having a conversation at a restaurant. Does that mean you should dumb it down for the audience? Yes, that is exactly what I'm saying. You should totally dumb it down for us. Most of the people in your audiences don't think about this stuff on a regular basis. They're not impressed by your use of 7-syllable words. They're just thrown off by it. We don't understand it, and I count myself in that bunch. So if you really want to make me understand what you're saying, find a way to connect with me. There's a great subreddit called Explain It Like I'm 5. Every debate about God's existence for a lay audience should be like that. Like, explain it to me like I'm a child, because I don't think about this stuff. I don't get it. So make me understand it. And I promise you that if you make me feel smart, like I've thought about this stuff and I know what you're talking about, I'm more likely to want to side with you. Remember, your goal is to get us to think differently, not to put us to sleep, and we're not the people hiring you to teach an advanced level class. Smile. I know that seems like a weird debating tip, but atheists already have a bad reputation, and you could disarm the audience who might already be against you by just putting a smile on your face as you talk. People will be more likely to listen to you. They may even want to like you. And that's weird, because for a lot of people in that audience, maybe they don't want to like an atheist. But if you smile when you talk and speak in a pleasant way, even if you're criticizing what the other person has to say, people are more likely to be on your side. Don't try to win over your opponent. Odds are that's not going to happen. That person is so entrenched in his or her position that you're probably not going to change that person's mind. So work the audience. Your goal in a debate, even though it's against another person, is to get the audience to think differently, to get them on your side. Destroy the stereotypes that the audience may have about you. Destroy the things your opponent may say about you to them. Take that stuff down. Leave them with something to think about when they leave that crowd. Stay calm. Odds are your opponent's going to say something that is so completely ridiculous, like the Bible is literally true, or homosexuality is a sin. Or they're going to use Pascal's wager as if it's this brilliant argument, and it makes you furious because that's the easiest thing to refute. But again, don't get angry. Just stay calm, rebut their points, because even if you've heard it a million times, the people in that audience may have never heard it before. So stay calm, stay relaxed, and just refute their points as they make them, even if it's old hat to you. Don't be afraid to praise the Bible. I think you should say that educated people should be reading the Bible. For one, it's the basis for a lot of great literature and cultural references that you'd be missing out on a lot if you didn't ever read the Bible. And second, you should have a pretty good idea of what you're arguing against. And for atheists who live in the United States, since Christianity is what you tend to be up against, you should have a working knowledge of what Christians believe so that you can criticize it properly. Don't be afraid to admit when your opponent makes a good point. I wish politicians would do that on TV. You never see them, doing an interview on MSNBC or Fox News where they say, yeah, the other party actually had the right idea there. They never say that because they see it as a sign of weakness. I don't. In a debate, it's a sign of strength when you could say, my opponent is totally right about this. Here's where we disagree. I think that would actually make you more likely to be believable because no one, even in a debate, no one is totally the polar opposite of the other side. There are things both sides agree upon. And if you can go back to that and say, look, we agree on this. My opponent is right about this. But here's where my opponent gets it wrong. I think that's a very powerful statement to make, but so many debaters are afraid of doing that because they think if they give an inch, everyone will just assume the other person's right. That's not the case at all. It just makes you more credible when you say they're right about a little bit of stuff. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know the answer to something. That, again, that's also not a sign of weakness to say, somebody asked me a question in the audience, I don't have a good answer for you. But don't stop there. Do your best to find an answer to that question and tell the audience, I'm going to have to do some research on that, but I will post my response to that publicly on this website, or I'll post it, at the site with the information about the debate. I promise I will respond to you, even if I can't do it right now. That's a huge deal, being able to admit that you don't know everything, but that you take their question seriously and you're going to figure it out and you'll basically get back to them. Finally, leave the audience with something to think about. I really don't think many people change their minds about a topic as serious as, God's existence in the span of an hour. If you're lucky, though, if you do a good job in the debate, you might be able to plant some seeds of doubt in the audience's mind, and then over the course of months, maybe even years, they'll be thinking about that and they'll be able to change their mind in the future. That's what a good debater will be able to do. So don't worry if by the end of the hour you haven't convinced a lot of people you're right. But if you did a good job, you've left them with some things to think about and that they'll be discussing later that night or maybe in the weeks and months to come. My name is Hemant Mehta and I write at friendlyatheist.com. Leave a comment below and we'll be sure to check it out.